How is it going, folks? Welcome back to Guernsey and welcome back to a team that are very much in transition. Yesterday, first part of the transfer special. Today, the aim of the day to, well, have a team ready for a Premier League campaign. I'm not sure what constitutes ready, but if we have 11 players on the pitch, I suppose that's ready enough. Now, of course, last episode we signed Hamé. I'm hoping we're going to find some more players like this guy that can really add some quality to our team, but I know that we need to go out there hunting. Of course, last episode we picked up Hamé, picked up a bit of depth with Ryan Hunter, the right wing back, and of course we also picked up Emiliano Montero. More depth, more young players who hopefully can grow with the club in the coming years. I think much like the year we got promoted to the Championship, as we get promoted to the Premier League, we're really building a team that hopefully, if we were to drop back down, would be ready-made to bounce back up. Lots of transfers still to be made, plenty to get through today, so without further ado, let's run the intro and let's get into things, shall we? Let's do this. So I was just setting up our squad depth screen just because I feel like this is a nice visualisation of where the depth lies in the team. Of course, in the striking departments, we have Gadier, we have Cooper. Two players who I think we could end up using as starters if needed, but ideally I'm still looking for that one top quality striker that would play alongside Williams, at least to start the season. On the flip side, Mason Burstow is a player who he's just not good enough. So he's a player I would like to move on, but I'm not going to look to move him on at least majorly until we do actually get someone in. In the centre attacking mid position, of course, we have got Aboubakare. I have made the decision that Hamé is going to end up playing as a defensive midfielder for us this year. I know that means training him in a whole new position. It's something that we've done a few times over the last few years as we've been playing this system. It's worked well, and I do feel like his creativity in a deeper area just suits the way we're going to have to play at this level that little bit better. In terms of depth at centre attacking mid, we have, of course, got Dale Owens, who wasn't exactly amazing this year, and also Blaine Goller, who is a good little player, a player who I have just offered a new contract to, but probably not someone I want to be starting regularly. So maybe a little bit of depth in the centre attacking mid position would be nice. Moving back into the kind of deeper midfielders and also the wing backs. Left wing back, we need to get in a bit of depth. Right wing back, we have to get a starter. In terms of our actual centre mid setup, we're maybe lacking a little bit of quality on the whole. Hamé, by the way, just doesn't show up in this list because he's not learnt to play defensive midfielder yet. But when I look at the personnel we've got here, it's not the biggest area of concern, at least right now. Defensively, however, we have got some gaps in the team. Of course, Scotty Williams, Tejera, and then the mystery left wing back, or left centre back, I should say. Ideally, Yannick Schmid joins us again, but I don't think Man City are going to give him to us. And with his loan expiring in 6 days and us no longer being affiliated with them, it's an area of the pitch we are going to have to solve. I say that, I suppose we could always just try and make an offer. They want a playing wage contribution of 40% and a contribution of 80% if he's not playing. I mean, I can actually afford that. I can actually... I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm getting Schmid back. Hopefully he wants to come back to us. Obviously, in past years, we've struggled to retain players on loan for multiple seasons. Given the fact we've just got promoted, maybe he'll want to stay around. I'm also wondering about Luke Volder as well. In England, you do have a limit of 2 domestic loans that you can have. Again, I can definitely afford this, and he probably would be a starter for us. I mean, I'm just going to submit the loan offer. But yeah, in the Premier League, there is a limit of 2 long-term domestic loans from teams in the same country. As obviously yourselves, Volder and Schmid would be those 2 players. We're actually currently over that limit because Anthony Deasy, who you might remember we loaned start of last season, he's still here. I can't terminate his loan. You might remember he broke his leg. He's been an absolutely awful signing. Yeah, we don't need to worry about the domestic loan limit. If Volder and Schmid come in, that would be the perfect start to today's episode. Okay, both our offers for Schmid and Volder have been accepted. Of course, they are players that we are going to have to pay a little bit more money to now to actually play for us now that we no longer have the freebie loans as a Man City affiliate. But nevertheless, they're 2 players who are proven in our team, know the system well, aren't going to cost us an arm and a leg, and would still leave us with plenty of wage budget left over. Obviously, the club's overall balance right now is all angry and red. Don't worry about that. As soon as the TV money comes in once the season starts, we're going to have more money than we know what to do with. I'll level with you. I didn't think that Volder and Schmid would actually want to join us again, or at least Man City would give us the chance to sign them. Of course, last episode when we were looking a little earlier in June, they were telling us, yeah, we're looking at other options. But now that they actually might be able to come back to us, I feel way more calm about today than I did going into the episode. So I did make the promise to Emiliano Montero that I was going to bring in a suitable player to help him settle. Of course, he is a Uruguayan player, and I was just looking through teams in the Uruguayan First Division. You know the deal. You're just flicking through teams, looking at their players. Gustavo Lemos here looks really, really good. Uruguayan, 17 years old, really good heading. Surprisingly good heading, really, for a centre mid. Obviously, loads and loads of kind of time for him still to develop as well at only 17 years old. Low value as well. Wondering if he'd want to join us. Either-footed, 19 determination. He would be like a good player for us to sign, I feel like. The issue is that because he's 17, I don't know if he's going to want to join us till he turns 18. I hate that this is a thing this year in Football Manager where players just, they turn 18 and they suddenly decide, yeah, you know what, I'm happy to move now. But it's kind of just the way it is. At £1.4 million, I think that would be a pretty good signing. I'm expecting him not to want to talk to me right now, as we can see there, but he is definitely the kind of player who needs to be on my radar. I feel like I need to set a reminder on my phone so I don't forget. So on the 12th of August, I need to make a bid for this guy. Otherwise, I feel like a big team's going to come in for him. I've just remembered, you can create notes, can't you, in Football Manager? Has anyone ever used the notes feature in Football Manager? I've never used it. Right, 12th of August, create notes. Reminder date, 12th of August. I can't believe I'm actually using the notes. Has anyone ever... I feel like I've never used these before. Lemos birthday. This is like I'm setting a Moonpig reminder to get him a birthday card, isn't it? Make bid future Jack. There we go. Right, confirm. I have no idea how that actually works. I guess we'll get an inbox item. Not sure. If this works, I mean, everyone's going to be using this. I'm going to claim that this is the work the space technique for signing players or something. I mean, there's definitely people out there that use the notes features. I've just never met them. Strange individuals. Probably should just look through the rest of Uruguay as well, but there's not a whole load of players loaded in Uruguay right now. Hugo Sosa here. Not bad, but not quite as exciting. Over at Nacional, we've got Jorge Gutierrez. I mean, he's not a bad player at 19 years old. Low value, really, really well-rounded. Would he be a good depth option? He can play right wing back. He could play centre back. You wouldn't really want him to play any of these areas. But for the price and for keeping Montero happy, I feel like you could do a lot worse. He has a minimum release clause of £3.4 million, which is a little bit too much, really. And he also wants wages between 20 and 27,000. I think I'll wait and see what the scouts have to say on him. I did see a couple of comments on last episode saying, Jack, check out Colombia. I did have a little bit of a look at Colombia. There were some good players here, but I feel like all the good Colombians have already been signed. I mean, I suppose we can have just a little flick through and look at the lay of the land. But yeah, all the good ones feel like they've been poached early by all the European clubs, which is a bit unfortunate. I mean, Sergio Ramirez here looks absolutely mad at 19 years old, but he plays for Bournemouth. Andres Amponza here does not look like a bad player. 18 years old, Colombian under-23 international. He looks really solid. He's only just turned 18. He's got good jumping reach. His heading isn't the best for a centre-back, but for the price, he could be a good little value signing, potentially. Probably going to have to pay around £2 million for him, and he's also going to want me to bring in a player to help him settle. I feel like this is Noah's Ark. I have to sign all the South Americans in pairs, otherwise they're just unhappy. I think we'll get the scout report on him and see what's what. I do also like the idea of signing Diego Cruz here. Not a bad player at all. 18 years old. Has only just turned 18 today, so maybe it's worth just putting a bid on him right now. It's literally his birthday. You know what? Happy birthday, mate. I've brought you a cake. 2.1 to £4 million is a little bit steep. That said, I do need a backup left back. Could he be the backup to Addons? He's probably not good enough, but I like him enough that I'm really considering making a bid. So I'm going to try staggering this deal a little bit, offer £3 million over 12 months, 1.2 million up front. I'm also going to add in the percentage of profit sell-on clause, but then remove and exclude it. That way they can't counter-negotiate and add it in. And, well, they have accepted that right away. I mean, maybe in hindsight I could have gone cheaper, but for 4.2 million, I feel like he could be a good player. I just hope he actually wants to join us. Good news, he does want to join us. Very interested in negotiating terms. Wages might be a little on the high side. He's also expecting to be an important player. I'm going to tell him, you're a regular starter, mate. Why did I get my hopes up? Why does he think he should be a regular starter? Diego Cruz, mate, you need to have a word with yourself, son. I was just looking through strikers that we've scouted. Last episode, Jakub Gaspar turned down the chance to move to us, and apparently now he's interested in talking to us, according to my agent. So I'm going to make the same bid. Does he want to talk to me now? He does. He wants £20,000 to £27,000, which is a lot, but he is very, very good at 19 years old. And for less than £1 million, if there's no release clause in his contract, I will be happy, although I think he's probably going to ask for one. He wants to be an important player. I'm going to make him an important player. He's asked for a relegation release clause, which I'm going to get rid of. I'm going to get rid of the minimum release clause as well. I'm going to have to pay him a little bit more money here, which I don't love. But for the price we're paying, he is mad. He's 19 years old. We're only ever going to sell him on for more money, aren't we? I'm going to give him a big goal bonus. Look, mate, if you score goals in the Premier League for us, age 19, you can earn a whole lot of Wonga. He wants £30,000, which is just a little bit too much. 27.5 he's accepted. He should get a work permit on appeal. I suppose the question is he better than the pacey strikers I've already got? Comparing him to Gadia here, he is definitely an improvement on Gadia. The other massive thing to consider is he's 19 years old. He's got potential. He's going to grow a lot. And for less than £1 million, he is just ridiculous value in the market. I am now wondering, given the fact that Gaspar did actually want to talk to us, are there other players that I scouted last episode who had no interest, who now today, at the end of June, are interested? I feel like I might need to go and look through a load of players I looked at previously. Last episode, Miller Anthony turned me down. Obviously, Setford, we had a little bit of drama with, you might remember, at the end of last episode. Curious to see if we can maybe snap up Miller here, because I think he would be a good option, if indeed he's interested in joining us. Maybe he's not forgiven me for last time. He's still not forgiven me for last time. Apparently we're on course to sell 9,000 season tickets, which is kind of mad when you consider the capacity of our stadium wasn't even 9,000 fans last year at Plainmoor, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, this year we are, for 1 year and 1 year only, playing at the Sutton United Stadium. We will then eventually move into our Guernsey Stadium, that holds 14,000 fans, which I'll be honest, that feels like a very small stadium for a Premier League club as a brand new ground. In hindsight, we should have maybe made it bigger, but too late for that now. Last episode, I was looking at Amar Zakuani, wasn't I, at Union Berlin, because they'd just been relegated. I still really like the look of this guy. Super versatile, can play a whole load of positions, could be a good depth centre attacking mid option, the kind of player who may even compete with Aboubakari to start as a shadow striker, but is more naturally a striker. Got 13 goals in a team relegated from the Bundesliga last year. Prior to that, had a 19-goal season, a 14-goal season. This man is established at Bundesliga level. For £5 million, super consistent, loves important matches. I think I'm going to make a bid. I think I'm going to do it. The wages being between £64,000 and £88,000. Might be a little bit of a problem, though. He has got that active relegation release clause, so we're going to make an offer, see what the agents say, see how much he wants money-wise, but I have a sneaking suspicion he's going to want too much. Of course, Hamé that we signed for £47,000 a week. That was quite a lot in hindsight, but I can't really afford to offer wages in excess of that. I've got to draw a limit somewhere. 47,500 feels like a good place to draw that. Zakuani here would be a good attacking option for us, but he wants way too much money. I can rejig some of the transfer budget into wage budget just to give me a little bit more money to spend, but I think realistically I don't really want to go above that £47,500 mark for him. And even then, it's probably a little too much. He wants a match highest earner clause. He wants a sell-on clause. There's no agreement to be made here, is there? Let's just leave. I'm setting myself up for sadness. I think really now I want to get to the 1st of July, see what players might be transfer listed, see what players are also just available as free agents that might have, slipped through the cracks and been released. On top of that, I'd really like to know what's happening with Volder and Schmid, because if they're both coming in on loan for the year, I feel remarkably calm. More good news here. Volder is going to continue his loan at the club. So we've now signed 2 right-backs from Man City in one window. Volder, a well-known quantity for us, a player who I think we can rely on. I mean, if Schmid now joins us as well, I'm gonna be very, very happy all of a sudden. Oh my word, it's all coming up Millhouse. Yannick Schmid, welcome back to Guernsey for another year, my friend. That is 2 of the big problem positions solved. 2 positions that I didn't think we were going to be able to retain the players that played for us in them last year, but now all of a sudden, it's all coming up Millhouse, and Gaspar waiting on a work permit. Although I've just seen up here, it's been rejected. We will appeal that immediately. I mean, Gaspar here for £1 million is an absolute steal. I think we'd be mad not to go for him. Is he the ideal superstar striker? I mean, when I look at the wages I'm giving him, you'd think he probably is. Whether or not he is that, I'm not entirely sure. But for us right now, he's undoubtedly a little bit more quality than what already exists. And at 19 years old, he could still get better. I realise I'm talking about how happy I am and how excited I am for the Premier League and how I'm really glad we've got the signings done that we have. I realise that the players we've signed, with the exception of Hame, it's just the same squad as last year. I am literally celebrating not getting worse. I mean, Vaughns, do you want to come on loan for us again for another year? Hoffenheim say no. I still can't believe we sold Vaughns for 7.5 million. He had a good 6 months at the club where he looked amazing. We sold him for 7.5 million. And then we loaned him back and he was crap. I feel like this might be one of the best deals we've ever done. There's no way he's worth 7.5 million, right? If you're sat thinking, Jack, something looks different today, I am using the standing up desk. I feel like being sat in a seat constricts your mind when you're doing transfers. The ability to wander around is nice, and the ability to tell you about a signing I forgot that I agreed to make is nice. Ivan Baranok, I think I've said his name wrong. We signed him from Dynamo Minsk for 135k. This signing was actually agreed back in January. Complete punt, but he had caps for Belarus and is 18, and I thought he could be good. So we've signed him. You're probably never going to see him play for us, but we signed him for 100k. We're going to look to sell him on for some money. Another player who's joining us in a couple of days' time is Henry Rojas, who was really exciting when I first spotted him. Now we've been promoted, he's kind of slightly less exciting as a transfer, but we've signed him as a freebie. I don't think he even has a work permit. Yeah, in hindsight, now that I've been promoted, he's kind of not that useful. But we'll find a use for Henry. We'll find something for him to do around the stadium. Okay, it is now the 1st of July in game, and one thing that I know I've talked about in previous transfer specials is the strength of looking for players with contracts expiry date in a year, just as the year begins that their contract's expiring in. A lot of these players here, basically, the way you can sign them is they're a bit like they're transfer listed. Clubs are desperate to cash in on these players rather than lose them for nothing. So very often, just by looking at players with 1 year left on their contract, there's the occasional good player here. And, well, the early signs, not as exciting as I thought they would be. I want it known, I lasted an hour and a half before my legs got tired and I decided I didn't want to do the standing desk anymore. I'm going back down, everyone. Bye. Do we put this in the video? I don't know. There is one player in our youth team setup who I feel like is massively overvalued, and it's Evan Broderick, 19 years old, good Northern Irish player, but value of 11 to 12 million pounds. He's a player who can play both left back and right back, is either-footed, so lots of stuff to like, but he doesn't really have great physicals as a wing back. He's only got 8 work rate and 11 stamina, so he's never going to get up and down the pitch. There was one point where I looked at maybe playing him as a defensive midfielder, but to be honest, I feel like I should probably just try and cash in on him. So I'm going to try offering him out for £10 million. I feel like he's massively overvalued, but to be honest, even if I got a bid of, say, 4 or 5 million, I'd probably take it for this guy. Tell you what, said 4 or 5 million. I have had some offers come in. The first is from Genk. It's £4.9 million up front, 1.2 in clauses, and then a few extra bonusy bits, and a profit of next sale. He is interested in talking to Genk. The other team that have made a bid is Basel, but theirs is not quite as sexy in terms of the financial side of things. So I think I am just going to sell Broderick here. It's a guaranteed £5 million with, well, the potential for a little bit more. Like I said, he's a good player. We've signed him for 25k. He's had a year in League 2, and well, with the value that he has, I feel like we should just cash in on him. Sometimes you do just have players with really high values that you just think, this doesn't make sense, I have to sell him. This is one such occasion. I suppose we could apply for Henry Rojas's work permit. Let's see if he's even going to be able to play for us this year. Lots of players have been released from their clubs in England. Are there any exciting players here? I mean, there's lots of older players. Alexander Isak, I mean, he's still very good at 33 years old, but we don't have the pulling power. Eddie Nketiah, I mean, not that great. His physicals have gone off a cliff. Renato Sanchez, I mean, of course, Renato Sanchez in this save game was playing for Wolves. Of course, Wolves had the Portuguese player. I'll level with you. He's not very good, is he? Cody Gakpo's just been released by Tottenham. I mean, Tottenham signed him for £77 million. I'll tell you now, he's not a £77 million player anymore, is he? Looks like it could be a weak year for players released at the end of their contracts. There's a couple of players who are on my kind of shortlist here who have contracts expiring. Sheriff! Wait, Sheriff's contract's expiring. Remember Sheriff? I mean, I'm not sure if he's as good now as he was when we first looked at him, but he's not a bad player. He's only just turned 19. I mean, as a free transfer, do we just sign Sheriff for the name? The issue is that he wants to be a squad player, and I'm not going to be able to offer him that. He would get a work permit on appeal. He's not good enough. Bad news, Rojas's work permit has been rejected, so I guess we're just going to loan him out for the year and demote him to the under-21 so he's out of sight. Not a complete monster though, I will send him on an English course. Okay, couple of offers for Rojas on loan. Copenhagen and Shakhtar Donetsk. I'll tell you what, we are getting some big clubs actually interested in our players from kind of slightly smaller European leagues, which bodes pretty well for the future with potentially trying to cash in on a few of them. Leicester have now made a bid for Broderick, but they've locked it in and it's a lot more conditional than some of the other offers we've had. I think the actual total value is a little bit more, but it's not quite what I'm looking for. I would love to get kind of £8 million all up front. As much as the kind of offers that we've had are good and I would probably take them, the more money we get up front, the better. Also, Rigby's still at the club. He wants to leave. He's got 1 year left on his contract. I'm just holding him hostage as our backup goalkeeper, at least for now. Okay, offers have been made for Broderick. Leicester and Brentford have come in. They've both offered £8 million. I'm going to be cheeky here. £8 million, so I want 50% of any profit. Okay, did not expect them to accept that. I'm just going to do the same offer with Brentford then. Okay, both those offers have been accepted. I don't think we'd ever sell him on for any profit, but £8 million for Broderick? I mean, I would be stupid not to take it. What I will do now is just quickly get rid of the the offer that we accepted from Genk. Normally, I don't really like selling to other teams in the Premier League and in our own division. In this instance, I'm happy to take £8 million off them for this man. Just got scout reports back on a couple of players we were looking at over in Uruguay. One player who had caught my eye a little bit was this guy, Jorge Gutierrez. I still kind of like the look of him. Knowing that we could potentially now be getting £8 million for Broderick makes me a little bit more willing to spend money on this kind of player. Someone who can offer a little bit of depth at right wing back, possibly slotting in the midfield. At 19 years old, he's got some time to develop as well. Super consistent performer. Yeah, I like the look of him a lot, and I need to keep Montero happy by potentially signing someone. So, I'm going to get the wheels in motion on this one, see what kind of wage demands he has. Apparently, he wants to be a star player. Why? He also wants a relegation release clause and a release clause. I mean, I can't give him star playing time, can I? This is a complete waste of time. Maybe I just wait for Lemos's birthday. Lemos, when's your birthday? It's in month and a bit's time. Over the years, I've done a lot of kind of park to Prem style saves like this where we climb up the leagues. I can't remember a time where I've made it to the Premier League and kind of the most valuable players I can sign mostly are under kind of £20 million. It's crazy how little pulling power we have. Of course, there's some players up here who are very good, but the reality is I can't really afford them. And the ones that are further down, well, they're not as good. This really is like a bargain hunting season, I feel like. Not just in terms of looking for players for cheap, because it's nice to find them for cheap, but also because there's not really expensive players that would want to join me anyway. Have seen a lot of comments about the fact that I should go and try and sign Alex Scott now that we're in the Premier League. The reality is that Alex Scott, who is not a bad player by any means, of course started his career at Guernsey, but currently plays for Stoke in the Championship, is just too much money. 8.2 to £12 million for a player who, I'm going to be frank, I don't think is much of an upgrade on what we've already got. I would still love to sign him at some point, the kind of player who might be the ideal transfer if we do get relegated, or when we get relegated. But yeah, just with the current constrictions we're under, with the current situation, not very sensible as far as signings go. Okay, Jakub Gaspar joining the club, signing him for 825k. As we've scouted him more, there has been more of a question mark over his potential ability. Obviously, his unambitious personality is kind of less than ideal, but nevertheless, I think he's worth a punt. It's not a super high risk investment. I guess the only real issue is the wages, but nevertheless, the wages just mean that his value is going to be a little bit higher, and if it doesn't work out and we get relegated, it will hopefully allow us to sell him on for a bit more money. But to be honest, he's the kind of player who, if we did go down, I think could be still pretty good in the Championship. He has now arrived. The fans have given him a B for his, signing rating. Hopefully he's going to prove them wrong and prove to be a worthwhile investment. You can see here, lacking maybe a little bit in the mentals, but he's got some really good pace, some really good agility, fantastic finishing. Hopefully if chances come his way, he will be able to score them. With Gaspar's arrival, I am going to try and get Burstow out. I'm not sure how much money we're going to get for him, but realistically speaking, he is going to be nowhere near the first team now. I have just noticed we're selling Broderick for £8 million, but our actual percentage of transfer revenue is going to drop after 1.8 million is received down to 60%. So we won't get all of that £8 million, but I still just think he's worth selling at that amount. Also, as the summer goes on, I might get the chance to ask for the percentage of revenue to be increased. At the moment, our balance is still in the red, but like I've already said, that will change very, very soon. One area of the pitch I do still need to address is the left wing-back position. There's this guy here, Leo Johansson, who's a Swedish international, who can play left-back and right wing-back. He's a good player. I'm not sure he's exactly what we want, and I'm not sure why he's rated so highly. Behind him, there's a couple of interesting options, but no one is jumping out immediately. This is definitely an area of the pitch, though, I do need to just hunt around and see what we can find in. One left-back option I have been looking at is Kabar here, another Union Berlin player. They seem to have a load of players who are just about the level where maybe they could be squad players for us. Maybe the headband is clouding my judgment a little bit, but I do feel like we could do worse in the left wing-back position. Valued at £2 million, wages maybe going to be slightly on the higher end. Apparently he's going to want between 40 and 58,000. I mean, that just doesn't work, does it? Now, of course, I can only loan 2 players from English clubs, but we could look for loans further afield. And actually, now that I've looked at left wing-backs who are available for loan, there's lots of these continental players from Italy that apparently are interested. We've got Pilato here, who plays at Atalanta. He would not be a bad depth option at left wing-back. I suppose the other question is, with all these kind of left-back options, are the clubs going to be willing to loan me these players, knowing that they're realistically just going to be the second choice left back for us? I mean, there will undoubtedly be opportunities for them to play, but yeah, I suspect with a lot of these kind of players and stuff, the clubs are going to want them to be playing regularly. Omar van der Bom here, not a bad option actually playing for PSG. Am I going to be expected to pay all his wages? I am. I think Pilato here could be the best loan option of all the players we've looked at. They want us to pay 100% of his loan. They also want some monthly fees, although they're not too extreme as far as monthly fees go. There is also an optional future fee to sign him. I mean, that just makes me wonder, can I just sign him now from you permanently for 1.4 million? Because if that's an option, I'd rather just have him now, really. We'll offer 1.5. He might not be interested in joining us permanently, but I think for 1.5 million pound, Pilato really wouldn't be the worst backup left-back option in the world. I'm now wondering, who else is available for loan? Who else is out there that I could loan in potentially from the big boys of Europe? I mean, have they got more players for me that I'm not aware of? Boris Amisador, he plays for Toulouse. He's not very good. Why is he valued so highly? Answers on a postcard. To having now gone through some of these other players available, I'm beginning to think that there's just a load of left wing-backs available for loan, and not a lot elsewhere. None of these players are really getting me all that excited. Bad news, Pilato doesn't want to join us permanently. I guess we'll just try and loan him and see if we can do that. Well, I would loan him, except Atalanta are unhappy that they accepted an offer and then we withdrew, and as a result of that, they're now no longer willing to discuss the possibility to loan him to us. I really love Football Manager sometimes. I'm starting to think that good left wing-backs just don't exist. I couldn't really find anyone else who's available on loan. I'm now looking at players with contracts expiring in a year. It is just crazy how, well, little pulling power it feels like we have when it comes to the wing-back position and indeed players across the board. It's so hard to find players that actually want to join us. I think it's pretty telling that when you sort by value, the vast majority of the players who are interested in joining us are currently players in the Championship. So I might have found a left wing-back option. Thomas Galvez here, plays for Swansea, 28 years old, not a bad player, not an amazing player, but if we could get him for around £1 million, I think he would probably just do the job as the backup left-back this year. Compared with Adam, he could definitely provide some competition. Of course, if you've played Football Manager yourself, you know what it's like finding wing-backs. They just don't exist, it feels like, in-game. In terms of how I came across Galvez as well, I've just decided to start searching for Championship players specifically. That felt like a good way to look at players that might be good enough quality, but also might actually want to join us. Okay, this Galvez deal is looking like it could be a pretty reasonable one. He's asking for around £10,000, which is kind of more than I'd like to pay. But at 28 years old, I think he could be a good backup for at least a year or two. If we don't stay up, he's the kind of player who would probably be happy to stick around with us in the Championship. Some good mentals, very, very well-rounded, to be fair. Maybe slightly lacking in the technicals, but for £575,000, I think he'd be a bargain, especially knowing that we're selling Broderick for 8 million smackaroonies. That's a lot of money to receive, and in fact, 7.75 million of that is going into the transfer budget. I'm sure not everyone will agree with this sale. You can let me know what you think of it down in the comments, but for a man who's never played for us, I'm quite happy to just take £8 million, to be honest. Bit annoying news, Millwall are going in for Galvez, and as are a couple of other teams. Makes me tempted to offer him a little bit more money wage-wise, but I'd like to believe that with the pulling power of being a Premier League club, he'll want to join us over Millwall. Has dawned on me, now that we're in the Premier League, we probably actually can sign some Brazilian players from Brazil. So with that in mind, I'm going to mass scout all these kind of players, although some of them are in England. I should probably also look at Argentina as well, because, I don't know, I feel like we're big time now. Maybe now I can start to sign players from Boca Juniors, River Plate, Racing Club. You know all the teams. If you've played Football Manager and been in the Premier League, you've signed some South Americans from Argentina and Brazil. Maybe we're big enough to do that now. Bit annoying, Fulham have made an offer for Zakuani. If he now ends up going to Fulham in the Championship, I'm going to be a bit livid. He wanted like £80,000, I think it was, to play for us. He'll probably sign for them for £40,000 and I'll just be left sad. I have talked previously about the desire to maybe get in like a plan B striker. We've got a few pacey strikers, maybe someone with a bit more physicality. Alain Alain answers on a postcard. Look, he signed for Ayr from Birmingham for £3.8 million. He's done very well in the Scottish Premiership over the years, has Alain. He's now playing for the Welsh national team as well. And for £6.4 million, I think he might be worth it. I look at our current striking options. We've brought in Gaspar. He's a pacey player. Cooper's a pacey player. Gaddy is a pacey player. I know we have kind of Williams as kind of a slightly more physical option, and we also have Dale Owens, who's kind of just the emergency fifth choice striker. But I feel like there is a spot in the team for a player like Alain, and at 26 years old, I do really like the look of him as maybe a big kind of target man, plan B, throw the ball forward to him kind of option. He has a minimum release clause of 6.25 million. It would make him, I think, the record transfer at the club at that kind of price, but I think he actually offers some real quality. Hopefully his wage demands aren't too outrageous, and given the fact he currently plays for Ayr in the Scottish Premiership, I would like to think that if we get relegated, he would want to stick around. Apparently wants wages between £28,000 and £37,000, wants to be amongst the star players in the team. I'm going to try and get him down to regular starter, which he's accepted. He wants £34,000, which is not cheap. Okay, after some hard negotiating, I've had to settle on £33,000, which is not cheap by any means, but he is the kind of player who I think could end up starting for us semi-frequently, especially if we are struggling for a little bit of form. If we compare him with Kevan Williams, I feel like he could be the natural successor to the throne. I mean, when you compare these two players, it's kind of mad how well Williams did for us last year, isn't it? I can't expect him to do it in the Premier League. I think Alain here could be a really good option to kind of fill that role in the team. Now, this is an interesting one. Last year, we signed Regan Symington for a free transfer from Liverpool and loaned him to Hartlepool. He's not a bad player by any means, but I'm not entirely sure he's ever going to develop into anything too special. And Bristol City have made an offer of, well, potentially £350,000. I'm going to be a bit cheeky here. I'm going to ask for the $350,000 up front and 50% profit. And they've accepted that. I mean, a few years ago, that would have been some unbelievable wheeling and dealing to get him for $350,000. In the grand scheme of things now, it's absolute chump change. But, you know what? We'll celebrate some good transfer business. If he leaves for that price, I will be happy. Okay, another sale of a youngster that we brought in for nothing that we're going to get some money for is Kabiru. Was actually talking about leaving the club at the end of his contract at the end of this year anyway. We picked him up on a free transfer from Liverpool. Just had an offer from QPR that we've negotiated. £550,000, 50% of any profit if he does go on to develop. Pretty happy about that one. And elsewhere, Alain is going to be joining us. Not a small contract by any means. Maybe a little bit more of a risk, this one. It is a record transfer at just shy of £7 million, but I like the look of him a lot. What he lacks, I think, in his kind of pacey more than makes up for in other aspects of his physical game. Has some really good mentals as well. Very interested to see how he gets on. Great goal scoring record international level. Yeah, I think as kind of a third choice striker, he's going to be very useful for us. In the eyes of our staff, he's a decent Premier League player. You know what? With our current standards, that's good enough for me. I've got to be honest, there is a temptation to start the year to maybe even play him ahead of Williams, but that might be blasphemous. I look at Alain, I look at Gaspar, and I think between them, they could actually work really well together. But there is just part of me that feels like, having seen Williams get 44 goal contributions in 45 games last year, I'd kind of be doing him dirty by not even giving him a chance in the Premier League, even if, when you look at him, he's not very good, is he? I mean, let's be honest, it's mental that he's done this well for us. My staff think he's a good League 2 player. They think he's a good League 2 player. Look, I really want to keep faith in Williams. The more I look at it, the more that might be silly. I mean, we could have Williams and Gadier on the bench, potentially even Cooper on the bench as a third striking option. Not sure if we need all three of them on the bench, mind you. But yeah, when I look at the attacking options we've got now, we've added a few more tricks up our sleeve that I think could work in our favour, especially in this kind of season where goals are going to be at a premium. We're going to need to just scrape by, take the few chances that come our way. Between Gaspar and Alan, I think we've got two players that we can rely on to do that a little bit better than we did before. A player I like the look of a little bit here is Sam Carpenter. We don't really have a emergency third choice left wing back option. This man could do a bit of a job for us. Value is really, really cheap. For some reason, Newcastle haven't offered him a new deal. His contract's up at the end of the year. He's only 18, room to develop. Whether or not he'd be a regular starter for us, I mean, I'd hope he never would be. At least not in the immediate future. But down the line, he could be useful. So I'm going to make just a bid of £130,000. See if that goes anywhere. But he's a player who I do like the look of. I would love to sign a few more younger players. Obviously, we've got £13 million left in the bank. A little bit of wage budget. We already have this young team with lots and lots of potential. I'd really just like to add a little bit more potential, I think. In terms of players that are out there that are available, within our current budget, I don't think there's anyone who's really worth spending £5 to £10 million on, who's going to really overhaul things massively. For the step up that I would really need more players like the likes of Hame, I mean, you need more money than what we have available. And if I did find those players, they probably want to stick around anyway. This is going to be a long season, I think. But I think when you look at our transfer business, it's been largely sensible. Okay, we have had to do a bit of negotiation with Newcastle, but £350,000 still feels like a pretty good deal, especially with some of the players we're currently selling on for that kind of figure. Players who, I'm going to be honest, aren't as good as Sam Carpenter here. Has really good determination, some nice physicals. Has the makings, I think, of a good little left back. And the good news for us is he wants to be a squad player. He's kind of happy to be a squad player. And his wage demands are really, 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 really reasonable. So really, I've said it lots and lots of times there. I'll give him £4,500 up front after 25 games up to 6k. 4-year deal. He's accepted that. If we get that deal over the line, I know it's not the most sexy signing in the world, but it's a useful one. And elsewhere, Galvez is joining us from Swansea. Again, cheap deal, £500,000. But between these two players, we have that little bit of depth in the left wing-back position we didn't really have before. And Galvez here, I think, actually is a pretty good left wing back. Within our budget, within our constraints, we got a good one here. Besides the Carpenter deal, though, I actually have no other transfers going on right now. But I do look at our team and think, yeah, this is a team that whilst I can't really look at it and go, we're going to stay up this year, I think it can give it at least a little bit of a go. We've not completely overhauled the team. There's players who I've obviously been able to loan back today, added a little bit more quality here and there, hoping that between Alain and Gaspar, two new strikers, we are going to have a little bit more potency in front of goal. But these are two players that I think if we did go down, would absolutely tear it up in the Championship anyway. In terms of positions that I might still want to improve, I still have a few question marks over the centre-back position, maybe getting in someone who's slightly better than Darren Dixon to be a backup, maybe even looking into getting a top-quality centre-back who could maybe force Scott Williams out the team, dare I say. But besides that, there's no other obvious spot in this team that I look at and think, I have to spend money to solve this position. I'm being a bit cautious with the money. I don't feel like it's worth spending money for the sake of it. I don't think spending big fees necessarily means the player's good. Often you get good players for cheap. And I think that is something that we have continually done here at Guernsey, and I'm not going to change that now. So with that all said and done, I think I'm going to wrap up today's transfer special here. The start of the season is about a month away. Like I talked about it last episode, first league games of the season, Middlesbrough away, Leeds United at home. Games that are not easy by any means, but Middlesbrough predicted to finish 15th. Leeds United predicted to finish 13th. The kind of games that, if we want to stay up, we need to at least be getting a couple of points from. You guys can let me know what you think of the transfer business we've done down in the comments. Debatably overpaid for Alain a little bit, but felt like I needed to go out there and make a bit of a statement signing. I like the look of him. He's my kind of player in Football Manager. Big, beefy, physical striker. Something that in recent Football Managers has been better and better in the match engine itself. I hope you guys are as excited as I am for the Premier League season, which of course will be coming your way tomorrow. If you have enjoyed today's video, do drop a like on it. Helps push this video in the algorithm. We are back tomorrow, same time and place for more Park to Prem action. And until then, take it easy. It's me, Jack, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm out.